Well met. This has been Brode, and you're watching Born to be
Cosmo.
Oh, snap.
Welcome to Born to be Cosmo, the podcast where we talk about all things Marvel Snap at a flexibly scheduled time. So flexible that I wasn't even sure we were really going to do this even a half hour ago. So talk about flexibility. It's been a little while since we've gotten together and had an opportunity to talk about our favorite Marvel-based card game. And I think it's been about a month, and a lot has happened. And as always, I'm here with my two pals, ZombiesGoNomNom and NateWolf,
Heyo.
to talk about it. Nate having some technical difficulties, so we'll be off camera for the few of you who are live this evening or those watching on YouTube. We hope that you get your issues sorted. Fun fact,
I hope I get my issues sorted too.
Whilst you were offline, I did confirm that my motherboard will support Windows 11, so I'm breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief. Yeah. I just have to enable the thing in the BIOS, so yeah. Because apparently Windows 11 is going to be mandatory after this October, in about 6 months' time. And I'm getting upgraded tomorrow morning at work. This is actually why I said that I had to be mindful of how long we go tonight, because I'm going to go into work tomorrow, and by all counts, I'm probably going to be like wrestling with my machine for the first hour or two. It's not our IT group's fault. It's anytime you do like a mass like update to an OS like across thousands of machines, like it's one size fits most. Yeah, it's inevitable. Yeah. Balanced as in all things. So speaking of the state of game, right? Nobody came here to listen to me ramble on about Windows 11. We haven't been on for a little while, and so I thought it would be interesting because this podcast kind of bookends the two game modes that we've recently experienced. On the far end, Sanctum. Sanctum was just starting after we finished our podcast, and we kind of made some predictions around the game mode. And usually I like to think that we're usually pretty spot on. We had a lot of negative feedback, or predictions, I should say, that didn't really pan out. So that'll be interesting to talk about. And then, of course, High Voltage is back and kind of wrapping up. Maybe we'll start just kind of with our predictions and kind of how it panned out. And so for me, really quickly, I predicted that the mode Sanctum was going to be really grindy, and people were going to be felt forced to play it, and there was going to be a lot. It was going to be very sweaty because everybody wanted to get the cards. And then there was a little bit of snafu. They had to like postpone Sanctum, and it was originally going to coincide with Twitch drops, but the drops happened instead. So what they ended up doing was they kind of just flooded the Sanctum with in-game currency as a part of Twitch drops that made the mode a lot less grindy. And I think that was the X factor that made our or my prediction at least kind of not come true. But I contend that with the information I had available at the time, I think that it may have. And what I'm interested to see is, well, I'm happy that the experience was positive, first of all. And I think that I'd be interested to hear what you guys' thoughts are. But I think it was overall positive. But like, would it still continue to be positive if they don't have those drops, or they don't kind of rebalance it to incorporate that extra lift in resources they gave? So
because it was a lot. It was a lot of the Twitch drops. Basically, gave you a bunch of the reward tokens and some scrolls. And
it really
the reward tokens counted towards your like rank progress in the mode, which I don't think was intentional. I don't think they've like confirmed or denied that, but I don't think it was intentional. I think like Blue said, it was like a last minute thing. The mode got moved. It didn't line up with Twitch drops. They had to scramble to get some more Twitch drops going, which was great because it helped out kind of everyone. It helped out the people doing Snap content with the streams. It helped out the people just wanting to get their rewards, and it helped them out even more because it counted towards the track. And
Yeah.
I think that did prevent it from feeling overly grindy. Because I think for me, I found like the journey to get to Sorcerer Supreme, with that included, was about where I wanted it to be. Like where I had fun with the mode and I enjoyed it, but it didn't really overstay its welcome. And I think if I had to grind the extra that we got from the drops, it might have overstayed its welcome a little bit. So I think that worked out really well. Also, the other thing that was really nice was people got a lot more cards than I think most people were expecting to get, based off of like some of the communication that was going on around launch. Like they made it seem like it would be almost impossible to get all the resources free to play. And I know some people who did that. And even if you didn't get all the cards, that is, you couldn't get all the stuff in the shop because it was like an endless shop. But I thought that was pretty cool. It was interesting to see. Like, I think there were a lot of cool things with the shop that were like different, but in terms of the gameplay experience, like I was worried it would be a little bit more like Deadpool's Diner, where you would like crash out of it and it would feel bad and all this stuff. But I think there was a reasonable enough amount of stuff given out through the mode to where it didn't really feel that way. Like it kind of just felt fine and pretty reasonable, all things considered. And people got the most free resources they've ever gotten. I mean, we got 3 new cards via the event. If you grinded it some more or used your resources, you got more than that. Like I got a Hulkling, and I could have got a Bruce Banner, but I decided not to, and then ended up regretting that decision. So I ended up buying Bruce Banner later because I wanted to mess around with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you weren't making content, I suspect you wouldn't have missed it. That doesn't scream your type of. It doesn't scream any.
No, it's not my type
card.
of card generally. That is very true. That's why I like skipped on it in favor of some cosmetic stuff, and then I saw something that just really interested me in terms of a build, and I was like, all right, I'll try this. I'll give it a try, and it was fun. It ended up being kind of fun, and then I had some really fun times with Bruce Banner and High Voltage. Actually, that was a surprisingly fun card to use there. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, did you get all the rewards, Nate?
So
from Sanctum?
I got the three new cards, and then I got one like unknown series 4 and 5, which was also Hulkling.
Oh man, that's so bad.
There are
What
dozens
a
of
bad.
us.
But you know, so they did this follow-up survey thing, and like I grinded quite a bit, but I feel like the shop tokens or whatever it was, like thank God for Twitch drops and their like rewards things, because I feel like it. So let me first say that the 3 new cards I got way faster than I thought I would. And then I barely like eked by to get my, missing series 4, series 5. And so I got it with a couple days to spare or whatever, but like you could get, I don't know, I think 3 more. And I was like, not a chance, because you earn rewards so slowly that I was like, there's no way. Like I'd have to be grinding all day for the next couple of days, and maybe I'd get it, maybe not. Like I'm just not doing that. And so I'm glad that they messed up or whatever. After missing King Eitri, like I'm not missing anymore. It's like,
yeah, Eitri was a funny one because he was like kind of super unplayable for most of the time, and then Agamotto came out, and it was like, oh, this card's actually like useful now.
Well, yeah, and I get annoyed because they keep like rubbing my nose in it. It's like because I
for
own,
you bundle.
I own most of the cards, and so the ones that I don't are kind of few and far between, and so they try to sell it to me all the time. And like $99, $75, $39. I'm like, no, just stop. But overall, I think the mode was fun. It was more fun than I thought it was going to be. It was remarkably like low stakes, and I got
it didn't feel as sweaty as I thought it was going to.
No.
Like I thought because of the limited entry fee and the high rewards, it was really going to be super hyper competitive and all this stuff. And it didn't really end up feeling that way.
No, it was
One
pretty good.
One of the most interesting things about it, though, was the update to the ban list.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because we had a ban list, right? And the ban list most notably had a few exclusions that probably shouldn't have been excluded.
Well, then people were exploiting things, and then they added those to the ban list after a few days, so it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what they were thinking, allowing like Cannonball and Negasonic and Rocket and Groot and stuff. Like the first they updated it really quick, but the first day or two of the mode, it was super pay to win. Like so many of the must have like mode dominating cards were Series 5 cards. It was Rocket and Groot, it was Sam Wilson, it was Iron Patriot, it was Negasonic's a Series 3 now, but the point stands. It was very much a party of the higher series cards.
Yeah.
And then after the ban list, the only card that I think really dodged a ban that I think probably deserved one was Sam Wilson, because he was the pass card. So they treat that with a bit of a higher bar, because they don't want to ban the pass card in their new mode, right?
Yeah, people were, it's funny now that you mentioned that. When the mode first started, like Cannonball was public enemy number 1.
If you didn't have Cannonball, you were playing at a pretty significant disadvantage.
But
just
also,
flat out.
like, it felt like there was not a lot of diversity, because you would have to run those cards. Your pay to win comment, like, it was more like, well, pay to be able to compete be at the floor of the power level you need to be. And definitely when they made that those initial bans, it kind of let a little bit of the pressure out. And I was actually, I know I remember on the first day you said Zombies, like, oh yeah, Cannonball's totally going to be banned from this mode. Like, it's just
there was just no way.
And I remember thinking, like, really? Like, I'd be surprised if they reacted that quickly, right? And sure enough, they did. So
they did it faster than I thought they would too. Like, I thought they would do it like it was a 2-week mode, right? I thought they'd do it like a weekend. They did it like 2 or 3 days in or something. Yep. They went way faster on it, which I think was good, because I think it made the mode more enjoyable for people. And also, like, you could compete with having not all the strongest cards out there, which was a nice bonus. And it also just opened up the metagame. Like, before the bans, there wasn't a lot of room for counter strategies. And if you didn't have a bunch of the best cards to do those strategies, you were probably having a worse time than the other people who did. So that's never good. And it felt like after the bans, it was like there was a bit more variety. Like, Guardian Piles still super strong, Zoo deck still super strong, but you started seeing people run like the Zoo-esque, but it was like a destroy deck with Killmonger to counter the other zoos and werewolf stuff. And there was like a neat bit of variety to it. There was a good amount of stuff you could succeed with in it. I played a lot of it during the first week, and I liked how different it felt. It really stuck out to me as, like, I noticed it on the stream on the first day, because I had a harder time paying attention to chat while streaming. Normally it's like easy for me to do because I've played the game a bunch and it's easy to like autopilot a bit. But because you had to like think about it differently than a regular game, I was like very engaged with the gameplay in a way I feel like isn't super common after playing a game for like 4,000 hours. So I thought that was really cool. Like, I think they came up with a really interesting concept where it still felt like Snap, but it encouraged different deck building. The gameplay felt different. I think as far as the modes go, it was my favorite, like, gameplay wise of all the ones they've done so far. So it was and the fact that that was combined with the fact that it gave people a bunch of free cards was really good. And I mean, some people were kind of dunking on the free cards at the time, but now they're starting to show up more. I mean, Gorgon has become like Gorgon when it came out was really not good. And now we have all these generated cards and stuff that people are playing, and Gorgon's actually seeing a bunch of play because it's countering the Agamotto stuff. It's countering the hood decks with Firehair, and there's a lot of just generation stuff going around. So like it's actually a really effective Hate Bear. Uncle Ben's seen a little bit of play. Laufey showing up some places too. Like it feels like the quality of the event cards has been getting better over time, as opposed to things like Misery and or not Misery, Agony and Lasher, which were a bit more subpar in terms of like playability. Like not the worst cards in the world, but
No, but they're not
far
being
from the
played very
best.
much at all. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very like niche build arounds that don't have too much of a direct home. And so I feel like they're getting a bit better with that. And the fact that you didn't just get the event cards, you could earn some cards that you didn't own already was a huge, huge benefit to the mode. Like I think they really got a lot of things right with the mode. And so unlike Diner, where it's like I wanted to see a lot of things change for the next time, I don't really have anything to that I want changed other than they should probably ban Sam Wilson and they should probably do the Twitch drops again.
Or
Those are
maybe they
my only
should,
notes.
maybe they should balance Sam Wilson. But yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah, well, I think Sam Wilson is inherent. I think you could make Sam Wilson more balanced for regular Snap, and he would still be problematic in that mode. Like
Right.
the amount of times you just would play Sam on 2 into not the Sanctum and hope you win the coin flip. And if you did win the coin flip and it goes to his lane, your opponent can almost not ever do anything to outpower it. It was very, very hard to do something to outpower it at that point. So yeah, that I think just created not the took away from the gameplay a little bit. And it also just made it like a literal auto include in every deck, which is never a great thing. Like there was just no reason not to play Sam Wilson, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, as someone who had a fair bit of like concerns about things that could go wrong with it, I think they really actually
It's pretty
got
good.
it about as good as you can get it on release. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it was pretty good.
But yeah, so and then high voltage. High voltage came back, and high voltage is the mode of the people, so to say.
Well, so it's the mode of the people, but man, people have some really like weird takes with high voltage.
Yeah,
Like,
that always happens with high voltage. Is like you get some people coming out of the woodwork, like, oh, how could they not ban Shang-Chi, or how could I don't know. It's I've never really understood.
Ban Wong, ban
Yeah, like
Zola,
they added
and
one card
Black
to the ban
Panther.
list this time. They added Gambit to the ban list, and I know I'm sure some people were not happy about that, but I don't know. I think it was fine. Didn't seem like that big of a deal. And I've played a lot of it. I've done some grinding on stream, and I found some fun decks to play with it, and I actually had a really good time with it.
How much time is left? It's a couple days.
Yeah, it ends on Tuesday, I think.
I need to
So,
I need to finish up because I want that free card.
yeah, the only complaint I ever really have with high voltage is I think they should make it like 10 days instead of 7. Or because like you have to essentially do all the dailies like 4.5 out of the 7 days. And I think that's kind of a tall ask for a more casual player. Like it's not
Yeah.
really a problem for someone like me, but like for someone who's just kind of like trying to make their way through it casually, doesn't play like Snap all the time, that's a lot of playing.
Snap asks a lot of a person's time.
And money.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not a bad thing because it's like it's a balance, right? It's that balance between having enough things to do so it's fun and engaging, but not becoming a chore. And like what I'm
Yeah,
realizing is that bar is quite a bit different depending on how you engage with the game or where you
for sure.
personally are in life, right?
Yeah, like that's pretty much what I mean is like, you can be an active Snap person who enjoys playing the game a lot, but I find even as someone who like falls into that boat, as someone who streams a lot, like I go and I stream Snap for like 8 hours and then I get off and I'm like, oh wait, 30 minutes, it's 11 o'clock. I have to do the things to get the card. Even though I've played the game for like 8 hours today, it doesn't care. It's like it wants you to go in every 8 hours and do the quests, and you don't have to do it every single time. But if you want to get the card with the bare minimum effort, you essentially have to do 4.5 of the 3 quests a day, 4.5 of the days of all 3 quests. So you can space that out how you want, but that's how the math comes out. And I know for some people don't like the mode, like the gameplay just isn't as appealing to them. I think that's usually like more competitively minded folks, but not all. Personally, I like it just because it's a little different, and I like how casual it is. Like it's just very fun, low stakes.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot on the line. You're just doing some wacky stuff, and it allowed me to do some fun things with like this weird Phoenix Force Firehair deck, or like some Bruce Banner Hulk shenanigans. So that was fun. I had a genuinely good time. I played a ton of it. I played like 200 plus games of it or something. Played a lot of it on stream, and I had a good time with it. And I think every time it comes back, I always end up feeling like this is exactly what the game needs more of, because like they built the game, I think, in a way to attract this more casual audience, and I think the game's default systems don't like fully embrace that usually, because people are stressing about climbing to infinite, or if you care about the post infinite climb, or so I think having a mode where there's like no stakes and you can just have a quick game that's kind of fun and low stakes is it's something that a lot of people seem to enjoy as like an alternate option. And I don't know if keeping this around all the time would like fix that, but I think it does speak to a larger want to have something like that available all the time, where there is this alternate way to play that isn't super like, I don't know, stressful or competitive.
Of the 3 game modes, Diner, Sanctum, and High Voltage, definitely I think High Voltage is my favorite. And I also like it for 2 other reasons. One, it's faster than Snap,
It's
if
very
that's
fast.
at all
It's like a
possible.
minute and a half.
Yeah,
Usually
there's
minute and
no
a half to 2
snapping,
minutes.
which makes the stress level come way down. And the way that the energy ramping functions means that you're going to see different decks within the game mode than you will on Ladder or Conquest.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be good to have around all the time. I think it would get old.
Yeah, I think it would get old too. Like, I don't think High Voltage itself would work as a always available format, but I'd love to see them like experiment with something like it, where it's like a more casual
So
way
here's an idea.
to play.
So what if Proving Grounds was taken out of Conquest and it became a best of one, kind of like the casual queue where you can do your quests or test things out or whatever and still get some boosters or minimal rewards. And then instead of Conquest, you take Conquest, Sanctum, High Voltage, and hopefully Deadpool's Diner 3.0, and then in that spot rotate them at a frequency or a cadence. So that way you don't have Ladder, Conquest, and whatever temporary game mode you have,
Yeah.
and then you'd have Proving Grounds become that kind of casual queue that everyone's basically wanted since day one, that uses Proving Grounds for, until you get the jerk who will rope you with 2 cubes because they're salty they lost. I don't know. I was just thinking, like, there are things that they could potentially do to keep that kind of rotation type of dynamic in, which I think is good, but kind of maybe learn from their lessons of Conquest, because it's like Conquest was their first alternative game mode, and it was a permanent fixture. And I think that we can say that at times it you kind of go back and forth on it, right? If you're doing it seriously, it can become very tiresome. If you're doing it with a I don't give any frigs type of mindset, it's less of a chore. But like, yeah, if they actually like didn't kind of have 3 things going on at the same time, I think that maybe it might I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
no,
something to
I
think
see what you
about.
mean. I mean, I know there's some people who really like the conquest dynamic, but I do wish
Right.
they'd breathe a little bit of a life into the mode because, like, the queue times have gone up over time, and it's like it does feel like a kind of neglected mode that a lot of people only play to get the rewards each month, or like I play it when I want a bit of a casual queue, just because it's not ladder. There's no ranking to it, so you can queue into whatever, and it's lower stakes for me. But I know for other people, they like view the Infinity Conquest stuff. Every time you go into Infinity Conquest and you're facing down one of those 1,000 CL players, like they're sweating on the other end of that. They're like, this is like the biggest challenge in the game to them, because they're going in like so at a disadvantage versus all these like established players. But I do wish Conquest would get a little more love or looked at or something to I don't know, do something to breathe a little more life into it, or at the very least, like try to avoid the limited time modes and like the last week of the season overlapping, because then that like makes even less people want to do like the Infinity Conquest stuff. They feel like they have less time to do it because they want to grind like the limited time mode,
Yeah.
because
Well,
high
zombies.
voltage doesn't overlap, but the last one did.
Uh, I'll say this, they should have lots of capacity to breathe some life into Conquest, because think of all of the effort they're going to be saving by not introducing draft mode to the rest of world
Yeah, China will
the
need.
rest of world platform, because it was just introduced yesterday or the day before to the China instance of the game, the CN instance.
Mhm.
They have draft mode. And yeah, I wonder if that's going to get more talk as that becomes once people kind of.
So is it a pick one from three system, kind of like the Hearthstone arena, or I didn't actually see how it works.
Yeah, I didn't either. Kind of
It
looks
looks
like.
like it is though. Like
Yeah.
you're seeing, looks like they're building a deck and they're choosing between the cards and stuff.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, it's kind of wild. I guess this kind of confirms that, like.
Is draft popular in like Eastern markets? Because like I feel like
No.
in paper TCGs it can be pretty popular, but pretty much every digital card game I know has never had, except maybe Magic. But Magic's an exception because it was like some people only play Magic for draft, because that was like the first. It's just a core part of Magic, right? For a lot of people. But aside from that, like I've never seen the draft mode in card games be super successful in digital card games.
Yeah, like
And that
if we
I've been a
take
part of them.
Hearthstone as our example, um, I guess the kind of things that was surprising to me was that in the CN or China instance of Hearthstone, there were almost as many combined players as all of the other regions combined.
Yeah,
And the only thing that really seemed different than the number of players is that the Eternal format, Wild, was as popular as Standard, which it's kind of like a tenth of the popularity if we're going based on Legend ranking, which is the equivalent of Infinite in Hearthstone. It seemed like there's a lot more uh, interest in a non-rotating format where all cards were playable. But like Arena, like I don't. I guess it's hard to know for sure, but like based on what we do know, I no, maybe I don't
yeah.
think
It's
so.
just never seemed like I've just never gotten the read that
Yeah.
everything I've seen is tell me they're not that popular compared to like general like constructed type stuff.
Mhm.
I think people just want what they don't have.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's also true. Like, I think there's a point to be made that a lot of times people just want something new and they don't know if they actually want that new thing in specific. They're just like wanting something new and different.
Yeah.
But there's something that's just it's weird, like that, you have this game, it kind of exists in this like even though you've got multiple servers for different regions, it's the same game, right? So you've got these two kind of parallel instances where they're kind of the same, but they're not. It's balanced differently. There's content in one that's not available in the other. Like I don't know. I don't like it. I have to say, like, so first I'll just say this. If they introduce draft mode here, I wouldn't engage with it. Like, I'm not a big fan of draft modes. I never really played Arena and Hearthstone. I am not a drafter in Magic. But
Yeah, and I
like
think their
still just the
information
fact
backs that up. That I think most people, I would go so far as to say like half the people wanting draft would probably drop it after a week or two.
sure, it's the same thing with like everybody wants a control meta until it comes, and then like thankfully Snap doesn't
Or
have that
everyone wants a
issue.
new mode until it's Deadpool's Niner.
Well, yeah, I
Uh,
mean touche. But like I just think it's weird that you kind of have these two games. Like it's like Loki or that show Counterpart. Like the games were the same until this like point in time, and now they
yeah,
branch.
they
It's like
diverge,
parallel.
alternate timelines.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like at a certain point, like
I think I'd be more annoyed about it if I felt like it was like actively hindering, if like them having it in the Chinese server was taking away resources from what we are getting here. But I don't think that's what's happening. I
Nah.
think
well, again, I counter that a little bit because like it really depends on how the game was
yeah,
extended to NetEase, right? So like if they had to like put all this development time in to make it configurable, like the way that I think about it is, and I'd be really interested in learning more about this. It's like, did they just give the source code to NetEase? Or is it kind of like GoDaddy.com where they had to build all these like development things? So
tools,
it's like
yeah.
they gave it to, or like RPG Maker where they're not developing, but they're configuring it because they've made it super configurable. And in order to make it super configurable, like an RPG Maker
That
or
takes
like
time. Yeah, like that takes
that takes a lot
resources.
of resources. And so if like so I we probably will never find out about it
Yeah.
because
The way
I,
I
I
see it, the ship has sailed. Like
well, I
right?
I suspect that not only, but here's the thing. Again, I humbly disagree because think about it. If they did create this kind of like RPG Maker like extendable system, it's going as they introduce new cards and mechanics to it, it's going to break it. They have to maintain it, and
Mhm.
maintaining these things takes a lot of effort. Or if they gave them the code, then they're going to have to reconcile their code branches. Like they add a lot of things to the game to their credit, like animations,
Yeah.
mechanics, just the way like the cards interact. Like watching you do those things with your Phoenix Force deck where you were creating these like insane like
Yeah, there are some weird interactions.
mousetrap like things. Like they have to develop those new mechanics in, and so I actually think it may take a lot of resources to maintain this, depending on how they did it. It's not zero. I would stake everything on that, but how
Yeah.
expensive it is to maintain is really dependent on how this was extended to NetEase. And I would really be fascinated to learn more about this because this is pretty. This is there's been things like this before when they go to China, but never
Mhm.
to this extent.
Yeah, I think Hearthstone had a few smaller things, but like it's very clear with Snap. It's like there are quite a lot of like fundamentally different things that work in the game, like the fact that you can sign up for a tournament in game, the deck
Yeah.
rentals, I think you get like a daily shop refresh, and then you can refresh it multiple times for
Yeah, you
gold or
can pay
something.
gold to refresh your variants.
And it's
Oh
like,
man, can you imagine?
well, honestly, I think people would like a feature like that in the game if they gave you one for free and then we're like, hey, if you want more than one a day, you pay for it, and they'd probably make a little bit of money, it and a bunch of people would be happy to use it for free and try and find the umpteenth variant they're looking for in the shop that doesn't want to show up. But yeah, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
just a bunch of small things like that, and then you end up wondering like, all right, how much is it like costing them to do this? How much are they making back off of it? I have no idea how popular the game is in
Well,
China.
if
I,
there are as many players in China as the rest of the world combined, which I think is likely, given what we've seen with Hearthstone.
And the prices are pretty comparable, is my understanding. Like
It's more
they're
expensive there relative. I don't know. Like someone, this is like third hand, but I do recall vaguely reading that like it's even more predatory there than it is here.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be the most surprised by that. Eastern markets are usually a little softer on gotcha mechanics than Western ones are.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably could have got away with Nexus events. Who knows? I still stand by. I think Snap would have gotten away with Nexus events if they didn't have a beta full of dedicated card game people playing it.
Yeah.
I think if they just had the average mobile gamer playing it, I think they would have got away with it. They probably would have made it a little less bad, but that was not who their beta audience was. And well, they've been
Thank goodness.
they've been the dog chasing the acquisition car ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose.
Will they
kinda
finally catch the car this year? We'll find out, I guess.
I mean, it kind of feels like they have in a way. Like they've hit their stride. What I mean is like because like now,
Well,
when
I
a
don't mean for
card.
them like making as much money as possible. I mean for like a sustainable acquisition system that like is good for them and the players in the game.
Oh,
Even if,
and the players.
like
Well,
yeah, like
I mean,
something
let's
that's like
not go
good
crazy
for
here.
everybody. that
Let's not
or
go
at least
crazy here,
works
right?
for everybody.
Think
Because like
think about the economy, zombies.
yeah, I know. Won't someone please think about the Marvel Snap
Economies are
economy?
people too, right?
Yeah, corporations are people, so are economies.
Wow.
But yeah,
I mean,
still
legally speaking.
we're still eagerly awaiting whatever that's gonna happen. I
And
initially
I hope it comes soon because I am
I
falling
don't think it's
further
gonna.
behind, and it feels
I,
bad.
my initial guesstimate was like summer, and we're already like halfway to summer, and I'm thinking it's gonna be more like later in the year now because we haven't heard even a peep about any possible idea or other than we're working on it and we'll let you know when we have more to share. That's the line that's been repeated a lot.
Unironically, that is my most anticipated thing. I think
I think
that's
it's
gonna,
most people's most anticipated thing at this point. Like,
but more so because I've fallen really behind, and I don't. It feels insurmountable to ever get caught back up, and
mhm.
I don't want to brute force it. So it's going to be really important for a lot of people, or maybe I'm just more empathetic to it since I'm personally impacted by it now. But yeah, it's you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of people in that boat who have been playing the waiting game, waiting to see what's going to happen for a while. And hopefully we'll know soon, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, well, they've gotten, in their defense, they've kind of gotten themselves into hot water by sharing a little bit too early. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
like I think they probably shouldn't say anything until they have it actually figured out
but
because they've
they're
done
kind
that a few too many times where
but
it's
they're in
like,
a lose-lose with this because like, they're like, "Oh, we're hard at work at this." But like if it's just sitting in like a backlog, like not getting worked on because they're too busy like making the game extendable for netties, like then you can say it's like not our present priority and we'll work on it, but or like you said, don't say anything. I don't know. Like honestly, I've been in this position before, like not obviously with a game, but like with a software product where you're kind of caught between that rock and hard place of setting the expectation, but the expectation is that it's going to be a longer wait than anybody wants,
yeah,
and they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. But I think you're
yeah,
right.
they
This will
just it just
be
has to come out and like I think there have been many times where I think they've underestimated how important it is to make like a good first impression on something. They'll like do something and then they'll be like, all
what
right, well we can
what
just
about a second impression, right?
make it
Economy
better.
2.0.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, we already had the 2.0. We're coming up on 3.0. Right? We had 1.0, 2.0 was spotlights, and now 3.0 is going to be whatever.
Oh yeah, I suppose I was trying to make a
I like the
cheeky
diner
inference
joke.
to
Yeah.
diner, but like actually no, I was just making a literal unironic statement. This is 3.0, 4.0 if you count Nexus events, which was like a 0.5 or whatever because it was in beta.
Yeah, in the beta, so you had Nexus, and then it went to the regular model that they had on launch with the
0.1,
tokens,
yeah,
and the
0.1
super rare
Series
pull
5.
chance, and then
Yeah.
it went to spotlights, and now it's spotlights aren't super sustainable, so we're gonna figure something else out. And what will that be? I don't know. No one really knows. So we're all eagerly awaiting to see what it is, but I feel like we're gonna have a bit more waiting to do because
Yeah, you know, Emma in
sometime
chat
this year
makes a good
probably,
point.
but
Unknown Series 4, Series 5, like in the Sanctum event, could be a bit of a stopgap, but it seems like maybe they experimented with that as a one and done. But I mean, if you didn't get Emperor Hulkling, Nate, maybe it would have helped you out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But still, it was, I mean, if anything,
still
now you
getting
can't.
new cards for free in this game is it's anytime you can get more of them for free, it's a pretty good thing. So
And
Well,
hey,
that stuff
and
has helped a little bit.
we've
But
learned though
not,
from like King Eitri or some of these other cards,
you never know when
Hercules,
they're
you
gonna
know,
become
like
good.
yeah, it's gonna they
every
may
card will have its day.
yeah, it could start bad and then maybe a month down the line or any time, you know, they decide to change it. So if you can get one for free, like don't sleep on it, especially because of how stingy they are and how the price point is set. Like, nah, just grab them. I mean, the
Yeah,
grind
you
is
don't want to be paying 3K tokens for a card you could have got for 0 tokens if you
yeah,
can avoid it, because
And Nate,
there's a
you will
premium on that.
never have to pull Emperor Hulkling again.
thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is like it's so rare that a card gets released and it doesn't have its time. Like Emperor Hulkling and
Hulkling had a
Celine
little
do
bit
the
of
time
its
to mind.
time, believe it or
Hulkling?
not. Yeah,
No.
Hulkling, yeah, a little. Hulkling was showing up in some Black Knight decks for a bit
Huh.
that were like, it was fine. It wasn't like you must have this card to play this deck, but it actively wasn't bad and had some moments. Celine, I think, is much more of a card that hasn't really had its moment. Maybe they'll do a change like that leaked one we saw in they like leaked the text for it, but they didn't actually do it, where Celine was going to become like power stealing, so she gains the power. The version that was in the leak seemed a bit stronger than I think it should have been, but generally speaking, I think they buff and nerf cards a lot, so every card might have its time to shine. I mean, we saw with the cards from the mode that they weren't really making a huge impact at first, and then now, I mean, I think Gorgon's the most successful of the three. That one has a real place in the metagame as like a very solid hate bear versus some pretty popular and strong archetypes right now.
You know, this kind of makes me think of something. I was having a conversation in our group chat with Safety Blade earlier, and Safety Blade was kind of complaining that in Pokemon TCG Pocket, they're just releasing cards too fast, which I think there's a fair criticism to be made. But I thought about this, and I actually think that Pocket and... Oh, did I lose you guys?
Oh, do we lose the stream? The stream
It looks
is
like the stream just went down. I'll try to get it back up, but we're still recording.
We're still
okay.
recording. My apologies. I'll continue then. So I actually think that TCG Pocket and Snap have a lot in common in this respect. So like what's interesting is that TCG Pocket doesn't balance their cards at all. They just release new ones.
Yeah.
That's not to say they'll never make a balance change, but I think it's pretty clear that they don't
That's
want
not
to.
how they want to go
And
about it.
in
They can avoid
Snap,
it.
you have an OTA a couple times a month that can radically change cards. And so if you miss a card, and then the card comes has its moment to shine because it was changed. This first happened with Gladiator. It kind of encourages you to get the cards, right? And so you kind of have to really keep up with it. And so even though they have different ways of going about it, both games are kind of both saying like, you got to stay engaged with us or you're going to be sorry. And I kind of don't like that. And
Welcome to
so
modern gaming, my friend.
yeah, and
That's what it's all about.
they've like 5 dozen different ways of like trapping you the way that that Pocket does it. differently, but it has the same net result. So I just thought that was interesting that, like, when Safety said that about Pocket, I was like, I feel the same way about Snap. And
Yeah, it's like
it's kind
live
of a real
service
six and a
games in
half.
a nutshell. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
But I think that it's a legit claim. They just, it's like with Snap, it's like if you miss a card, even if it seems like a weaker card, you'll be sorry, unless of course it's Celine
Eventually,
or
yeah.
Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah, it's like most cards will eventually have their day at some point in time, in Snap, for better or for worse. But I think in general, it's how they. I think that's how they get by not doing the traditional card game release structure, where they, instead of releasing a bunch of cards all at once, they do one card at a time. That doesn't always cause the biggest impact. So what they can do to increase that impact is just change existing cards. And when your acquisition's kind of expensive, that works for a lot of players because it isn't only giving content to the people who already or who are buying the new cards. Like, I mean, a good example of this was how we just saw like the Hela meta creep back in because they made a big change to Hela, and then some other stuff happened, and it became very consistent. And they're like,
They
okay,
made
we're gonna reel
Scar
it
a
back.
7. That's what they did.
Yeah, it's so funny, like, me and many other, like, high-ranking players were all on the same page that, Searcher Scar was just one of the most blatant, obvious, like, design mistakes you can, like, see in a card game. Like, why they ever thought the idea that a 3/5 that scales off of playing overstatted 4 drops, that's ultimate payoff is a 0/10. Why they ever thought that was a desirable goal to chase is beyond me. I feel like they weren't really thinking that one through. And then
Oh,
eventually it came to a head and they were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done this.
this isn't the first time they've done that. They did the same basic thing with Shuri Red Skull. It's like they seem they want a deck in the meta that goes really tall, like that's
Yeah,
easy to
but Shuri Red
play.
Skull was like back when they were like way, they were earlier on in the game's life, and I think they were just generally worse at balancing it.
Right, but they always want a big dumb idiot's deck to be relevant, and they seem to aggressively push it and then have to dial it back, right? Like
Yeah.
Searcher was like,
Searcher was it
yeah.
was absurd. It was absurd, and I'm surprised they went as hard as they did. Like, because they nerfed it pretty hard. The Searcher fans were like pretty mad about it,
Oh
and then like
yeah.
2 weeks later, they came back with a bigger bat. Like it actually they really went for the throat, and then after the dust is settling, and you think, oh, there could be no more Searcher nerfs, they nerf Sam Wilson so he can't work with the shield effectively with Cull Obsidian anymore. And it's like, wow, like they I'm not saying that as in like I disagree with it. I'm generally pretty happy they made all these changes. But it's just funny to see them go from like very much defending that, like, yeah, this is the idea of the card, this is what we're trying to do with it, this is the design goal, and then be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Like that turns out this design goal was just far too good at doing what it was doing, and it was oppressing the rest of the game. And I mean, that happens sometimes in card games, but it was interesting, if nothing else, to see the whole chain of events there, because I know we've had some stronger season pass cards recently, but I think most of them pale in comparison to the power of Searcher Scar stuff. That stuff was just on another level.
Yeah, and I mean I think that Sam Wilson was kind of a bit nutty too.
Oh yeah, he's super
Um
strong as well. Like they're very, very strong cards.
I think that that'll likely be adjusted again at some point, but we'll have to see. But yeah,
Him and Iron
maybe
Patriot ushered in a new era of like what it means to be a premium 2-drop in this game. Like
yeah, and there was an OTA recently, and I was really surprised with what was hit because, well, the cards that you just mentioned, aforementionedly, were not. And
Oh, they did the Sam nerf, but it was pretty light.
yes,
to
they
aim.
nerfed the shield, which I suppose is, you know,
I mean, it's relevant, but mainly for things that were playing Call Obsidian. It's not really relevant for most of the mid-range decks that were playing Sam Wilson. I think him and Iron Patriot definitely just stand out though, as like they're getting a lot of rope because they aren't archetype defining cards. I mean, Iron Patriot's had over a 50% play rate. Like Iron Patriot is like the bar for like he's like what Arsham was as a deck to like 2-drops. Like he just goes in a million decks. And I think he's been allowed to exist in the way that he has for so long purely because he isn't an archetype build around card. And so they're more lenient with that because it's not like oppressing the metagame in terms of there's only like, this one Iron Patriot deck is the most popular deck. It's like, no, instead of that, you have like these 6 Iron Patriot decks that are all kind of different, but they're all using Iron Patriot, which I think that still says like, hey, maybe you should tone that down a bit. But I think they view that as much less of a problem compared to when like Surtur Scar is like one archetype, right? That has a much more negative impact on players, experience with the game.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I had a lot of mixed feelings about this OTA. I mean, the Hela nerfs were justified, but like, I still feel like the deck is very playable, but like, they kind of hit like some weird things like Black Cat. Like, Swordmaster makes sense.
Oh, they
The Doom,
nerfed Hela like super hard, but yeah, I think it was pretty justified. Like Hela was stupidly consistent, and of all the cards you probably don't want to be stupidly consistent, Hela's pretty up there. It
I
does
mean,
not
it's
create
still,
super fun gameplay experience when it's a majority of the metagame.
So get this, right? I played the ongoing up to rank 90 and then switched to Hela. And it did Hela from 90 to infinite. This was all pre-nerf, like, and then I hit infinite, and then this came out a couple days later, and I was like, "Jeez!"
it's still pushing 5% played, but
It's
like,
still like a playable deck. They didn't like nuke it into the ground or anything.
yeah, I'm just
but
surprised.
it's
People, I guess, really like their mindless deck or whatever.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's why so many people play Doom. Like Doom got a lot of crap for being a mindless deck, but people love playing Doom. There are a lot of Doom enjoyers out
I was
there.
surprised it got hit again. You said you weren't.
I
And that's
wasn't.
because it's like the
Yeah, it
lower
didn't. I
ranks
don't think it
crusher.
deserved it necessarily, but yeah, it was the Shuri Red Skull deck. It was the just very easy to play at all skill levels, and I think anytime you have a deck that is strong and easier to play than most other decks, it just gets a bigger target on its back because you just have more people putting up good results with it,
The
and then
Shuri Red
that makes
Skull
them look at
deck.
it.
Somewhere out there's a Shuri enjoyer that's going to be very cross with your characterization. Is that liable?
Yeah.
Is that like Nate?
Maybe.
Did we have any luck with the stream, or is it still?
It's still down.
Stream is kaput. I don't know what happened. Yeah, it's not.
Oh well.
Yeah. I was talking. I heard your computer, Nate. It almost sounds like the sound when you plug in like a USB device.
Yeah.
And it sounded like it was a device unplugged, and then the stream just went kaput.
Yeah, it's super weird. That was the
I thought
noise
maybe it was.
that was the noise that it made when the pop-up came up, and it goes, "Stream, something wrong with the stream down," and yeah, I can't get it to come back up, so I don't know what's going on with it. I mean, I can pause the recording and like try to troubleshoot if you guys want to do that.
Nah, I don't.
Not sure it's worth
It's not
it,
that
but
big of a deal.
It's, I guess, just a little disappointing. But
Yeah,
it's more
no.
frustrating for you.
It
'cause
is.
you're having other issues as well.
Well, I'll try to resolve when we wrap up, but you know, at least the recording's working, so it's not like we lost the show.
Yeah.
But
that's
I
good, at
feel
least.
bad for the people who are trying to watch, because we have.
Well, we did.
Now they'll have to tune in
foreshadow
on
this.
YouTube or
Yeah.
Spotify or wherever
Right.
else.
Yeah.
You get the other half.
So apologies
we're
if you
doing
were
this
there
on
live.
purpose.
Yeah, welcome
Yeah,
back.
if you were there live and you're now at this point in the recording on Spotify or YouTube or wherever,
We see
I
you.
tip my hat to you. Chapeau. Because that's dedication.
It is indeed. So that probably does it for like the modes. Oh, Bruce Banner got a buff. We should mention that.
Maybe we could. We started talking about like the balance. We talked about Sam Wilson a little bit. So why don't we just go through that? We can start with Bruce Banner because that was the change that like when I got to the end of like the OTA changes, I was like, really? This is the change that precisely no one asked for.
No, that is
So,
not true. The Bruce fans have been asking for it since week 1. There just aren't that many of
who
them.
are they? They're like bought from like former Soviet republics. Like nobody wanted Bruce Banner to be buffed. Are you serious?
Look, as I have recently been reformed, and I even had to do the famous public streamer apology. I had to apologize to my chat for buying Bruce Banner because I wasn't true to myself.
Okay, so Bruce Banner is a 2/1 that at the end of the turn, it has a 25% chance of turning into the Hulk if you have unspent energy. And now, instead of a 25% chance, it is now a 33% chance.
Yeah, and that is a meaningful difference. 1 in 4 is a lot less likely than 1 in
Also,
3.
it will keep its power modifier. So like
It
let's say
will.
for like let's say Gwenpool hits it or something, you'll have a +2. You'll have
Yeah,
a
any
plus,
positive or negative modifiers.
gene.
Also,
Yeah.
if you set its power with something like Bast, you will have a 3-power Hulk.
Oh, so you can't play Bruce Banner on
Can't Agent Venom or
yeah.
that location or another fun one, although I think this one's a bug, but I'm not positive. If you Shadow King a Bruce Banner while he is Bruce Banner, he will transform into a 2/1 Hulk. I think that's a bug though. I don't think that's an
That
intended attraction.
sounds
It's
yeah.
like because it's trying to see the look at all the effects on Bruce, it sees the modifier that is like setting it to its base power and it's viewing 1 as its base power. I don't know. I think that's a bug. But all the other ones I think are intended. They want it to keep the buffs, which I think is cool. And it annoyed me when it came out mainly because I keep wanting them to buff high Evo, and instead of doing like the easiest buffs possible to high Evo, they keep buffing it in the most roundabout ways, like giving high Evo another point, giving Sunspot a point, buffing Bruce Banner.
Bruce
And I'm just
Banner's
like,
not a high Evo card. I will
yes,
not
it
accept
is.
this slander. No, I refuse.
It's the deck that wants to float energy. It's just
I guess so. I
not very
hate that
good.
you're right, but
But hey, I mean, I saw KM having some mild success with like a tech card Evo with Bruce. I was brewing a little bit with it. I had a really fun high voltage deck with it, and I got this great comment where someone was like, Bruce has a 1 in 3 chance to Hulk out every turn. There are 3 turns in high voltage. I see where this is going. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Just have Bruce out on turn 1 and float all 3 turns and you're golden. But I did actually have quite a bit of fun with the card in high voltage. It was fun being just like YOLOing on the Bruce and watching it pay off, and it paid off way more than I expected it to. So that was cool. I ended up having like a 60% win rate with the Bruce
Wow.
Hulk deck.
Huh.
Not that
well,
high voltage is super competitive, but it was
so
fun.
we got a high Evo buff in the form of Bruce Banner, and Destroy got the buff that they needed to return to relevancy with Wolverine.
I totally forgot that even happened.
Yeah, so Wolverine was a 2/2, and when he gets discarded or destroyed, he regenerates to a random spot with +2 power. The
Yeah, he's a
effect is the
2/3
same.
now.
Now he's a 2/3. Yeah.
Yeah, the continuation of 2/2s to 2/3s is continuing. It's still they're just, give it a year and there will be no 2/2s left. They will all be 2/3s,
It'll all be
and
two
then they'll
like.
start bumping up Jeff to like 2/4 or something. It'll
Oh
just,
man, the day that Jeff becomes a 2/6 is like when we've hit peak snap.
yeah, Silk will be a 2/8 or something at that point.
Well, yeah. So the next archetype that got some love was
Wait,
Thanos.
before we bring that up, I want to mention something funny. So one of my favorite things to do on OTA days is I like to I this time I did it live. I didn't even look at it before the stream. So I did my reaction live. My favorite thing to do is to go on the various different like social media platforms. And I always like to see like the general reaction to things because like I'm very tuned into it. But like I'm always curious to see because it like varies place to place. And you always get like some silly comments, but like I always look on the main Snap Discord. I look on like the Twitter post by Snap, and then the third place I like to go is KM does a patch review kind of thing, and I like to see the
Do
comments
you
there.
do you not go on Reddit?
No, no. I think I once in a blue moon, but I'm not. I think most card game subreddits are like not great in terms of like getting information that is I mean, I'm not going to these places for like the most informed takes. I'm just going to see
No,
like
you're
what the
going
late man
to.
is thinking. And
Yeah.
the reason I bring this up with Wolverine though is cuz like basically the takes were generally what I expected. Some people were mad that Hela got nerfed. A lot of people were happy about it. A lot of the most popular one though was a lot of people were mad Doom got nerfed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that's me. Yeah,
That was
I'm one of
And
me.
those
Nate,
people.
you were not happy the first time it got nerfed, but
No, and
you
then
grudgingly accepted it. But this time it
This
was
this
like,
is
this
just
time
it's just mean. It
it was
was
hard.
mean.
But my favorite, you always get like one or two like really unexpected ones. And so we were joking that like there's gonna be like one guy in here who was pissed about this Wolverine buff. And sure enough, there were like two. There were like two. Oh, great. Second Dinner's buffing the most overplayed archetype in the game. Destroy. Exactly what we needed. Thanks, guys. You're really
Wow.
in tune with your own game. And it's like,
That's a
bro, who cares?
that's a great copy pasta. We should have
Dude, it was so funny. That one cracked me up. I was just like, bro, Destroy has been like struggle busting along for the longest time, hasn't changed as an archetype in a year or something. I mean, now we're seeing a little bit of experimentation with like tempo destroy stuff with Misery and Firehair, but that's not a Wolverine deck. It's not like your
yeah, it's
Deadpool
not.
destroy.
Yeah,
It's the so Destroy has always been that like if it has its fans, it has some iconic characters, but it hasn't really changed much. It's a very face up deck. You know when they're doing strong stuff, you know when they're not, and so it was just very funny to see that out of all the changes in the patch, the thing that like one or two people were most bothered by was Wolverine getting a bonus point of power. That just shows you like for
so
every card
weird.
out there, it has its fans and its haters.
yeah.
So weird. Wow. I'm glad you shared that. I not even on Reddit did I see anything like that. So
No, it's just so funny. It's made it one of my favorite things about the OTAs is to go through and see the comments, and there's always at least one really funny one like that.
wow. All right. Well, that's that I have no speech for that. Um all right. Well, Thanos is our next archetype that got some buff.
This is
Two
cool.
cards got buffed. Space Stone and Big Daddy Thanos. So Big
This
Daddy
is
Thanos is now Bigger Daddy Thanos, going from
Mhm.
610 to 612.
He's bigger than the Infinite now if you assemble the Infinity Stones.
I mean, and like I can't remember the last time someone slammed Big Daddy Thanos down against me, so it seems perhaps warranted. They made Thanos the payoff, so yeah.
Yeah, Thanos has been needing some help and giving him 2 points and giving the Space Stone an extra point. I mean,
Yeah.
good changes. Thanos is taking a lot of heat right now in like terms of collateral damage though, because there are a bunch of Agamotto decks, there's some like card generation decks and all this stuff. And so it's led to a rise. There's still a little bit of Arsham around, but not a ton. But affliction decks. So basically, due to some of the stuff that's popular, cards like Gorgon and Mobius and Cassandra Nova are pretty prevalent in the
Yep.
metagame. And oh boy, if someone slams down a turn 2 Gorgon against Thanos, you are just like, if you didn't play a stone on 1 and 2 stones on 2, you are incredibly sad. You are so very sad. The stones going to 2 cost is like
Oh, it's
brutal.
I mean, it's like having Mobius played against you if you're playing negative. Like you snap
Yeah,
and play
yeah.
negative, and the person opposite plays Mobius, and you're like, oh, I lose 2 cubes.
Yeah, it's rough. It's possible for the Thanos to break through, but like it's definitely not the most favorable metagame for Thanos. That said, I mean the buff did help. The card has been seeing much more play than it did before, so it's like I'm not gonna call it like one of the best decks in the game, but like the buff helped a bit. It gave Thanos a little bit more oomph, and I think he needed it. And he's one of the most iconic characters in the game, and one of the more fun, diverse archetypes. So that was I think that was a pretty nice change to see in the patch. I don't think many people were really
Yeah.
expecting it.
The next change kind of made me sad, and it made me sad not because of the change itself, but this is the way they chose to change the card. One of my favorites, one of your least favorites, Loki, went from being a 2/2 to a 1/2. And
Wait, you didn't like this change?
well, I don't like the way Loki functions right now. Like I feel
Okay.
like it's just it went from being a build around that had a lot of problems, and then
Yeah,
they're
good
like,
riddance.
okay, we're not gonna have it be a build around, we're gonna have it be a support card. And because it drew you a card and it got played in
It was a
Arishem,
3/5 that drew a card. That card was so the
yeah,
first rework, well, not the
it
first
was
rework, but like when they
plus
did that
Shadow.
Loki rework, it was so absurd. And
Right, but it was absurd, but it was very different. It was a
yeah,
different
they
absurdity.
axed the whole building around
Yeah.
Loki as an archetype, and frankly, I don't think they're ever gonna go back to that
And then they
because
murdered it by they made it weaker, but they left in the card draw, and then they finally nixed the card draw, and the card was just like it was just dead. And so like
yeah.
I think
And then
the
it got more
pro-
dead because they nerfed Arsham, so you couldn't even play 2-mana Loki on 1 anymore. That was the one place it was still being played for a bit.
yeah, so now maybe you could stuff Loki back into Arishem because you can play it on 1 again. And
Mhm.
so I actually am playing it in my Arishem deck, but like I think that it's
You
like a
can play it in Thanos
non-factor.
now. You play it in Thanos, and then you use the stones to draw. Boom.
I
I'm not
mean,
even
okay.
memeing with that. I've seen people do it.
You'll have to send me a list because I'm at the point where, like, sure, why not?
Not the
But like the
best
thing
thing to
is,
do, but like, so Loki, I did like a whole video talking about Loki recently. Loki is essentially a tech card now. He's like a mid-range mirror breaker. If you are playing like if you and your opponent are both playing like mid-range good cards decks, and you play Loki on turn 1, I'd say most of the time you will probably be favored if the other cards in your starting hand are half decent. Because like Loki's just very good against good stuff deck. But
Mhm.
the flip side of that is it's much more of a gamble than it used to be because a lot of the good decks in the game right now aren't just sure a lot of them are good cards, but they're also a lot of synergistic decks. So if you happen upon a discard player, you're gonna feel real bad about that turn 1 Loki really quickly because discard demands you have, certain pieces together to get the wheel turning.
yeah,
So it's I think generally speaking, unless you're running into a lot of mid-range good stuff piles, that's kind of when you want to play Loki. And if you're not seeing a lot of that, there's not much of a point in playing Loki because getting cards for a reduced cost only matters if those cards are doing good things. And if the cards aren't good on their own and they need other cards to support them, then he's not going to be doing a whole lot. But if they're playing Iron Patriot and if they're playing Iron Man or Gore or whatever other just like generically good cards, Loki's pretty good.
I have a lot of mixed feelings about Loki because, like, when Loki basically replaced your hand, right,
Mhm.
before they reworked Loki, like, it was too strong, and there were problems with it in terms of how it kept other archetypes pushed out.
Yeah, it was also
But
gonna like always dominate the hand generation archetype, which was I
but
think their main justification of changing it was they wanted to make cards like Kate and Victoria Hand and all this stuff,
yeah,
and you just can't really do that if old Loki exists. It would have been
I just don't
insane.
like that. You talk about how often like it's very rare for new archetypes to get introduced into the
Yeah.
game. Although admittedly, I would say that they've been creative about doing,
Yeah, they've gotten better with that,
but
in
to
general.
take one away, especially one that I was personally invested in,
Mhm.
like never mind the validity of it, it's just it feels bad. It's like if Thanos no longer was a build around and was like
Yeah.
now an Agamotto support card.
I mean,
Like,
that's kind
you
of
know,
what he was at the start, right?
I
Thanos
know.
used to be you were playing him for the stones, not for Thanos. So they
Yeah,
kind of inverse did that to Thanos. They made
yeah,
Thanos go
they
from
did
being
that to
generic
him
to
in a
or no, I guess
way.
well, they forced Thanos to be the thing you're building around rather than uh him just being there. But that's probably a more welcome change than like the Loki one. Like I think there are a lot of people
Yeah.
who share that feeling of like it's a bummer you can't like go into it trying to build a Loki deck where the focus is around him because he's more of a tech card kind of like
Yeah, so this just signals to me that they're not gonna rework him. This is gonna be how
yeah,
Loki functions, and they're
I
gonna
don't
play
understand
with
the
the
timing
numbers.
on it. That's what got me is like, so they just changed the cost, right? It went from 2 to
Yeah.
1. I don't understand why they didn't do this like 2 weeks ago because it was the last OTA before this recent one was during his spotlight week. So I was like, oh,
Well,
they're going to
I'll
change
tell you
Loki.
why they did it, because they probably weren't planning on changing Hela as aggressively as they did. So they had to ship something. So they revisited like, Evo, destroy Thanos and Loki, and then
Well,
the
Loki's
next.
been on the docket for them for a while, so it's just I don't understand if you're gonna. My logic was, well, maybe the reason they aren't touching Loki during his spotlight week is because they're working on a rework for the card again. Maybe they're still in the tank figuring out what they're gonna do with it, and that I think would be a reasonable justification if they haven't come out with a version of the card they're pleased with. But if you're just gonna slap a cost off of it, like I think you should have done it 2 weeks ago because then if people who don't own Loki were excited about it, you might have got some people to open for it.
Well,
No
they
one's
did.
buying Loki for 6K as a 1/2.
I
No.
mean, they did
No.
say that they're going to change Loki again if this doesn't bring him in line to wherever they expect Loki to be.
Yeah,
But
although I
like,
do
I
think
mean,
this made him significantly better. Although that it's like a low bar. Like 2/2 Loki was like hard unplayable, and this card is not hard unplayable anymore. It's like kind of niche, but like I played Loki and I did some pretty good things with it. It's not. It was funny though on like the first day of it. You had a lot of people doing the classic Loki on one snap, and it was very funny to see how fast that mentality petered out. Like that didn't
yeah.
last like a day, and it was good. Like I played it, and I was like, "Hey, everyone's playing Agamotto. Good stuff piles. Loki's pretty good into that." And it was. It was also kind of handy with King Eitri, which you're already running in your Agamotto deck, so you could get another draw. Like it has like a space. Now we're seeing it being used in Thanos a little bit.
Mhm.
So like there's like more of a niche use for it than there was before the OTA. So I think like in that sense, this is a change I'm happier they did this and left it at 2/2. But I don't think it's going to be like the huge. It was funny though how so many people were like Loki is back, and then you got all the people who hate Loki who are like, "Oh no, why would they do this?" And it just hasn't really it didn't last much longer than like the weekend before the Loki decks started dying down again. There are too many decks in the metagame that are synergy focused for Loki to be like this auto include in most decks kind of card. Discard probably one of the most prominent ones. Or if you're a deck that runs a tech card that's good against yourself, like if you're running Affliction and they Loki or Luke Cage, you're pretty sad about that. Or if you're playing big dudes and they Loki or Shang-Chi or whatever. That was like his other niche. But I'm curious if this is his final form or not, or if they will rework it again. But I don't see how they. I think they would have to redesign the card entirely in terms of like giving it a whole new ability that's like
No, they'll
not
make
about stealing cards if they were to
make Loki a
redesign it.
2/3 or what's a premium, or like make Loki a 1/5.
A 2/3, well, 1/5 would be absurd. A 2/3, I think a 2/3 Loki would be worse than the current
Yeah.
version we have.
That's why I quickly reverted back to like, what's the most premium statted one
Yeah,
cost
Hydra
card?
Bob Loki.
Hydra Bob before the nerf, so make Loki a 1/5.
But yeah, I don't know what they'll do with this card, but it
No, I
was
don't.
it was a fine change overall. But the bulk of the OTA was nerfing Hela. Hela had gotten real consistent with the change of Scar to a 7-drop. People were using Ross and Adam Warlock to draw with it. It was anytime Hela has a vice grip on the metagame, it was very funny. This moment stuck out to me. Like, so
Yeah.
if you don't know, Cam does a weekly deck roundup. And I think if you're looking for like a sense of what decks are good and popular, that's probably the best place you should be looking. Like, I check his thread every week because I think it's quality content. He does the research, and I think
Yeah.
it's very accurate information in terms of like what decks are performing well in the metagame. And if you just want to like a quick context of the metagame week by week, I don't think there's a better place to get it. And it was really funny after Hela got nerfed, the length of his like best decks video over doubled. It was like a 40-minute video, and he's like, that's what happens when Hela isn't like having her throat around the metagame or her hand around the throat of the metagame. Like it's crazy how many more decks can succeed when they don't. Oh, I just auto die to Hela, because a lot of decks were in that boat. That when Hela's overly prominent, it just forces out a lot of strategies that either don't have the tech to run against her, although the tech has never been really that good, or just plainly can't go taller. And then you see a rise in things like negative as a result of that, because it's the other deck that goes really, really tall. So I think it's usually a bad thing. And so I was pleased to see they also were not messing around. They gave Hela the Surtur treatment. They really, I nailed most of the predictions. The only one I didn't predict was Black Cat. Hela to 6/6, knock a point off of Swordmaster. I didn't think they'd knock a point off of Cow, but they did that too. They really, and then they made Black Cat a 2/6 instead of, so Black Cat was a 3/7 and then a 3/8 and then a 4/10, and now it's a 2/6.
Wow.
So it's been around the block. It's kind of like Loki. Loki's been a 1, 2, 3, and 4 cost at this point. But the changes worked. I mean, Hell is still a playable deck, but nowhere near. It has nowhere near the same impact on the metagame it was having.
Yeah.
You know,
I played some Hela with these changes, and I was still doing pretty good. I'm not infinite yet. I've not been playing that much, but it's still people. Yeah, it still puts out numbers. So the fact that it still like feels not terrible
speaks to how nuts it was.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it was. Hela was putting out. Hela always put out a lot of power, but the fact that Hela had more power on her body, the fact that you now had another big cost card that wasn't competing with the other things, like the fact that before Hela had like a big 6-drop and death, and now it's like, okay, well, you have death and a big 6-drop and your Scar as like big things. Hela herself was giving more power on the board. Like it was just a lot. And so they cut it down. I mean, all things considered, I think they did it in a good way where it's like the deck is playable for the people who are fans of it, but it doesn't have this vice grip around the metagame where you must be this tall to ride. And I think that's where a lot of the complaints from Hela stem from, is like, it sucks when you're trying to play your fun homebrew deck and you just have no hope of winning if they draw the card Hela. They just put out too many points. So I think they did a pretty good job tweaking that to a more manageable amount. So like keeping it playable for people who still enjoy that card and enjoy that deck, but make it not as consistently powerful. So I mean, all things considered, I think the OTA went over pretty well. But I do think the Doom nerf did overshadow it for a lot of people, because like the Doom nerf was the one where it was like, yeah, I get it, because cards like this usually get nerfed just because they're so easy to play, and that means they're stronger across more of the player base. But it did feel weird because like Doom wasn't that prevalent in like the high infinite metagame at the time. And I think part of that is like it's one of those decks where people naturally, I think high infinite players get a little bored of like the one card a turn thing. So like they're trying to do other stuff, but like I think the average Joe ends up really liking that gameplay. I mean, I liked it just because I like getting to play with old Doom again. But now there is a new old Doom deck rearing its head with Sandman that's been working, so he's still finding a little bit of a home. But that was the one change from the patch that I saw a lot of people were really unhappy with, and it's kind of a hard card to change the numbers on because like they don't want to reduce the power on the base card because then you can Ravona it, and so the only place to take power from is the bots. But the difference between 1 power and 0 power feels so much more than 1 and 2, and it's I don't know. If Doom, you know what Doom feels like? Doom feels like one of those cards that is going to get it's gonna get the werewolf treatment. It was really, really good when it came out. It got subsequently nerfed. Werewolf, I think, only got nerfed once, but this got nerfed twice. But we're gonna see power creep tick up, and we're gonna see this card remain very not super playable or super great. And then in like 6 months, they'll undo the first nerf, and then in another 6 months, they'll undo the second one because the game will have power creep to a point where we can because that's where we're at with Werewolf, right? Werewolf is back to its original form, and it's fine. It's like it's kind of a playable card. There's some decks running it. It gets a little. It has like Scream out there now, which is doing really well, which is kind of a counter to it. But like it is funny how they Werewolf got. God, Werewolf did get nerfed twice. Werewolf went to like a 4-drop and then went to a 3-drop with lower power, and they slowly like ticked it back up.
Well, technically going from a 4-drop to a 3-drop with lower power was a buff.
Yeah, but I mean nerfed relative to its original form.
Yeah, it took a slightly different trajectory than this, but I feel like the arc is similar,
I think that's
right?
what's gonna happen is they're
Yeah.
gonna eventually bring Doom back because the power level will be higher, so they can afford to have it be how it was without it being as strong as it was. Even though I don't think it was really breaking the game or anything. I think it was probably a little too strong in its original form. I don't really feel like it was too strong in its nerf form. So at the very least, I would expect that nerf to be changed at some point in time once the power level goes up a little more. Which I mean, if the recent season passes are anything to go by, like it's funny. I saw like a question and answer where someone was like they were asking them about how they like push the season passes and stuff. And if you look at like the track record of season passes, it is kind of 50-50 for last year where like I think half of them were like overpowered, but half of them were kind of underpowered. Or like kind of mid. Like Scar, although I guess Scar was like December of 23, but still, no, Scar was January. Scar wasn't that great until he got support later on. Black Swan was really bad for a while. Symbiote Spider-Man never found too much of a home. Like there are more like misses on season pass cards than I think people remember. But the reason people I think have this more recent bias is because if you look at the season passes from I think it started with Agent Venom. Because Agent Venom was after Symbiote Spider-Man, if I recall correctly. Agent Venom was October. So it was Agent Venom into Surtur into Iron Patriot? Yeah. No, Galacta. So it was Agent Venom into Surtur into Galacta, and then Iron Patriot, Sam Wilson, Agamotto. That has been the last 6 months of season pass cards, and those have all been stellar cards. A few of which have like half of them got nerfed, right? Surtur got nerfed, Sam got nerfed, and Agent Venom got nerfed, and all rightfully so. And you can there's definitely an argument for nerfing Iron Patriot too. So it's like I think we are going to see some season passes that are not this pushed, but in terms of the last like half year of Snap, the season pass cards have been very pushed all in a row. So it's definitely setting like the vibe people have around the pass card more than we saw like last year, where who knows, maybe the next 6 months of season pass cards will be a little more mediocre, but at least what we've seen from the data mines, I don't think that's going to be the case. Maybe Captain Carter next month's a little more mid. I think she'll be more low impact than the last few months, but we'll see. But it is interesting to see how that plays out, because the season pass card always ends up being played a lot more because it's one a lot of people have access to. And a lot of them have been build around. Surtur was a build around, Agent Venom, Galacta, Agamotto.
Yeah.
Even
I have to ask.
So I think it's fair to say the TLDR, Zombies is philosophical about the second Doom nerf and is analyzing and assessing it in the broader context of the Marvel Snap metagame. Nate, how do you feel about the
Oh,
Doom
it was
2099
not
nerf
needed. It was just mean. It was overkill. I understand the play rate is probably too high. I was irritated at the time, admittedly. But
we're not alone.
But like, I'm frustrated because I really enjoy the card, and I feel like it brought back the original Doctor Doom. It gave me a reason to play that, and now I was just kind of
yeah, it's just sad when a card you'd like that your whole deck is built around suddenly does way worse.
So I'd hit Infinite 2 months in a row with Doom 2099, and then it got nerfed, and then I had to switch it up and play the ongoing version. Then I hit Infinite with that. I was like, all right, this is fun. I'm finally getting the hang of it. And then that got nerfed, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it. And now I just don't know what to play.
It forced you to playing Hela. Well,
I hit Infinite with Hela before the nerf, actually.
okay, it was before the nerf.
It was before the nerf. I did play with Adam Warlock, and it worked really well, actually.
Yeah,
Adam Warlock was pretty decent.
I was sad because I got the other guy, Thaddeus.
Thaddeus
draw
Ross.
your 10 cost cards, Ross. And I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I like drawing cards, and Adam Warlock was just like, nah, it's just better. But I mean, now yeah.
I will say, I think Zombies is probably right. Like, I feel like that what I'm holding out hope for is that this is temporary, and 6 months from now they'll revert this second nerf, and the card will be playable again. And then
but that's the thing.
6 more months from now it'll be back to what it originally was, and maybe I can, I was trying to bling out these cards. Like I'm slowly like getting gold cards. It takes even longer now with the new backgrounds.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting banana cards.
Getting bananas.
Who doesn't love some bananas?
But so I was pretty irritated at the time, but it's fine. Like, whatever, it'll come back. This is a good, like, it really makes me question though. Like, should I get this card? Should I skip this card? Like this Fire Hair, right? I've been deliberating. Should I get it? Should I not? Like, I have enough tokens or enough keys. Like, I could get it, no problem. But like, when I look at it firsthand, like, this looks like a content creator card. And
I mean, I think at a certain point you just have to like, do you think you're gonna like it? Because at a certain point, if it's really strong, then you're only going to get to use it for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And if it's weak, well, is that something that you think you would regret not having? Like, it becomes more of a feeling than a power calculus at this point, because
I agree.
there's going to be so much variance with every card, given how the game is balanced. It's yeah. So I guess
I'm gonna pass on it, and
Fire Hair.
Fire Hair, here, I'll give a quick TLDR on Fire Hair. The TLDR on Fire Hair is, how much do you like playing the card Misery and the Hood? If you like playing those cards a lot, Fire Hair is probably for you. If you're not super into those cards, Fire Hair is probably not for you. That or the Thors. She's pretty good with the Thors too, but that is also a Misery deck. Like, pretty much all her best decks run Misery and try and get a bunch of demons.
Well,
the one exception is like Thanos, which is fun and doesn't use Misery, but it it was funny. Cam included that in his tier list, and the title of the deck was it says 46% win rate on Untapped. LOL. I believe it. I believe it's a very fun deck to play, but I don't think it lines up into the meta super well.
Yeah.
Even though it is super fun to play.
The deck that I liked playing the most actually post Infinite has been like Cope Sarah with
Cope Sarah's not bad right now.
with the new Hulk card, whatever it's called. The guy that's on the screen right now.
Starbrand.
Yeah. So when Blue mentioned that, like, hey, this is really good at throwing prio, I was like, oh, I need to try this. And you know what? It's great. I went on a winning spree. It was wonderful. Like, it was really fun. So
yeah, I think people moved away from him too quickly. I mean, that happens, right? Like, he wasn't the most hyped card of the season, and then Firehair followed up, and Firehair had a lot more hype. But like, Starbrand was a pretty solid card. It's probably not the most amazing time for him in the world, just because there's a lot of Shang in the metagame. But like, he's certainly playable. He's a decent card.
I mean, the thing is that if you're gonna make a really serious Sarah deck, you're probably gonna play Iron Patriot and Sam Wilson. I don't play Sam Wilson because I don't own Sam Wilson, but if I had it, I probably would. So you're capturing prio because those cards really lean in, and when you want to do your Shang things or rogue things or your reactive tech things on turn 6, having prio can suck. Starbrand kind of solves two problems in the deck.
Yeah, he gives you power. He
gives you stats, which Cope Sarah usually is, struggling to find.
Especially in the early
And
game.
you can proactively play it and throw prio. It really makes the deck a lot more consistent because it's kind of covering those two problems. And it's an interesting way of using the disadvantage to your advantage. And Sarah's still a deck that I enjoy to play. I just feel like it requires a lot more patience if you're going to try to run the table with it, just because the decks that are kind of meta are just doing their things so efficiently that you're just going to have to retreat more often and be a lot more.
Also, Jug is a really big part of the metagame right now, and Juggernaut
yeah.
That's the sigh of someone who's been Juggernauted one too many times.
Oh yeah. I mean, I get it, right?
Like, punt you out of the lane. It's and I mean, it's kind of a symptom of Iron Patriot being a really big, and Starbrand also had an impact on like that too, because Starbrand made Iron Patriot better in Sarah, because Sarah finally had a follow-up that wasn't Gladiator. It was like, you could put it in your own Iron Patriot lane to guarantee it. You could slam it in a opposing Iron Patriot lane and flip the lane sometimes.
You run them both, right? And so Gladiator, like, it's like you've got two things now that are good, and you've got a kind of like this weird kind of sub, like, I'm going to bring something back with Fenris Game Plan, which is one of the more obscure cards that I ended up getting because I liked it. But it feels really good, like just going like Iron Patriot into Starbrand, and it's like, okay, now I don't have prio, I have the discount card from Iron Patriot, like, it's good. And then getting jugged is like, because like usually that's the time you want to snap, because like I feel like at this point snapping on 5 into Sarah is almost like too telegraphed at this point, depending on your MMR band. So you want to snap with the Iron Patriot, and then that's when you get jugged, and that's when you're like, ugh.
Yeah,
it doesn't lose you the game necessarily, but you lose the discounted Iron Patriot card, right?
Yeah, well, that's Iron Patriot's kind of interesting in terms of how it's made Jug this really great card, because Jug was always like a decent card, especially in like a Surfer deck or like a Storm deck or something, right? But what Iron Patriot did was Iron Patriot made it so instead of Jug just being a good final turn card, it's also a good tempo play, because it can if you have priority, it essentially guarantees you the Iron Patriot lane, which is a 4 mana discount. So that can be game winning at times over the rest of the game. So yeah, it's it gave the card a lot more versatility, because before, with Storm not really being a part of the meta, most of the time you were juggernauting, you were trying to like win a lane with it on the final turn. So if you got it early, you didn't really want to use it early. It just felt like a waste because the body's not particularly impressive. So it's become a lot more prevalent because of Iron Patriot, both as a way to guarantee the Iron Patriot lane, or sometimes guarantee the opponent doesn't get the Iron Patriot lane. And Starbrand does a very similar thing, just in a different way. He's like the opposite of Juggernaut in that way. But one thing that's interesting about the card is a lot of people are viewing it like, well, you have to get rid of the downside because that's giving your opponent 6 power. So it's really like you're playing a 3/4 because you're giving them at 6 power. You're only giving them 6 power though if you're fighting for both of those other lanes. If you're only fighting for one of the other lanes, it's like you gave them 3, and that can be kind of negligible if you're in a very go tall based deck.
You can always Enchantress on the final turn, anyways. If
Yeah,
you
like
really want
optimally,
to.
you want to get rid of it, but in the cases where I think a lot of people thought the downside was going to be a lot more impactful than I think it ended up being.
I
I don't think it
also
was that big of a deal.
I really dig how like it kind of brought Lizard back in that
I
like
love
this
how
is like
Lizard is
I'm literally
back.
talking like how it's like a meta build. Like this is like meta within our group chat because like I don't think anyone else has played it, but it
No,
feels
people are
good. Like
playing Sarah with Lizard, and Lizard is starting to see play in some of the
yeah,
high
it's good.
Evo or not high Evo, Affliction decks.
Two
Um,
six is like
it's
that
solid.
that buff was like
It was a good buff.
yeah, it was a good buff. And now like I was still buying variants regularly when the Rian one came out, and I never really got to play it. So now I get to play that. So that's yeah. Of all the cards I've gotten recently, Starbrand has low key been one of my favorites just because of the niche that it kind of fills. And that's kind of like what I was trying to say earlier. Like, do you buy a card or not? It's gotten to the point where I can afford to get so few of them basically being free to play that I really just go for what I think I'll enjoy. And luckily for me, I wouldn't even know if I would enjoy something or not, but you know, I get to follow content creators like Zombies, and that gives me a good insight to
I
what
think that's good advice though,
possibilities are.
generally, in terms of I think if you only go after cards because you think they're strong, you better go into that with the mindset of they're not going to remain that strong forever most of the time. So I think that piece of advice of and that's why I try and steer people towards when they ask me, "Hey, should I buy this card?" And it's like there's not a it's gotten more rare to be like, "Yes, regardless of your collection or circumstance or play preferences, you should buy this card." There are a few cards that tick that box. Iron Patriot's one of those cards. I imagine he's going to get nerfed, but like if I had to think of a card that like I do not give that oh, it depends on what you like playing speech about, it's Iron Patriot because it just goes in like 80 different decks. But
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, it's like people asking me about Fire Hair. It's like, well, do you like playing misery decks? If you like making a bunch of demons or playing with the Hammer Bros and stuff like that, you'll probably like Fire Hair. She's pretty cool. Or you could do some wacky Phoenix Force things. But if those decks aren't really your jam, I don't think you'll really miss out on this card because those are the main homes for it. And unless we get some like I don't know different synergy down the line, I don't see that really changing. So kind of knowing what you like to play in the game and what kind of things like suit you and don't, I think is use that as your compass on like, hey, should I actually get this card? Because like if you just get the card for pure power reasons, one, it'll probably get nerfed, but two, you might not even enjoy playing the deck. Like and then you used all your resources on something you don't even like playing, and that's not good. Um, so that's some general advice for like picking up cards and whatnot. But we are coming up to the end of the month though. We only have one more card left in the month. Conchu is going to be the last one. Um, People were asking me about Conchu a bunch, and my line on Conchu was it's a really cool idea. It's like we have Bullseye discard and Apocalypse discard, and now we're gonna have another avenue to build around that. It's more like the Apocalypse strategy, but it's not quite the same because you don't want to be playing Dracula. You want to actually play out the Conchu, but it's similar because you have this big guy you want to discard twice. You want to discard something else, so he has something to bring back. And basically I was like, well, whether Conchu is playable or not depends on if they nerfed Hela. And they did nerf Hela, so I think Conchu will be playable and interesting to mess around with. As well as he's getting some support with the first Ghost Rider, which is actually a card I've been messing around with today, and it's pretty neat. It's the card from High Voltage, and I think most people, if you've been doing all this stuff, will get it tomorrow or early in the week before High Voltage ends. So like Monday or Tuesday. And I've liked it quite a bit in terms of getting to play with Ghost Rider again. I think it's going to open up some opportunities with Conchu because Conchu wants to like bring back a thing, and the first Ghost Rider can discard a thing that would be good for Conchu to bring back because he discards your lowest power. Conchu sets the power, so it has synergy there. But I've just been trying it out with like Iron Man and Gore because they have low power and they're good to bring back, and they don't take any power away from the first Ghost Rider. And then you can run Anti-Venom and Luke Cage, which have always been a really good package. But Anti-Venom is great on Iron Man and Gore because you don't care if they have no power because or like they get, their effects give them power. So I've had some fun today testing out the card, and I do think he is one of the stronger cards we've gotten from a game mode, and I think Conchu will make him even better. But so far, testing it out in like a Black Bolt shell with Ghost Rider, or just like a tempo shell with I don't know, just generically good cards. I have a Lizard in there. It's been pretty good. I've had some fun with that, so I'm excited to see what other people think about the card when he becomes a bit more readily available in the next few days. Because it's been fun having an excuse to play Ghost Rider again. Because I feel like Ghost Rider kind of fell by the wayside. He does see play in like one of the iterations of Hela, but yeah, he hasn't been the most relevant card in a while. So it's cool that a la like the Doom 2099 thing, we get a different version of this character that kind of gives a reason to bring the original one back into the fold. I really like that trend of them doing that. I think it's cool when a new card kind of breathes new life into an old favorite.
Yeah, agree. I always like discard, so I'll try it.
But yeah, it should be fun. And then we're on to the What If season, which should be interesting. I'm really excited for Infinity Ultron, who's like midway through the month. That card looks really cool, where he gives you some Infinity Ultron stones, but they're way more impactful than the Thanos stones, but they cost 3, and they go to your hand. He gives you 2 of them at random, but I think that card's going to be really fun to mess around with. And the What If, I always thought the What If theme was cool, so it's neat to see they're going to be doing a season all around that. I think it's a fun season theme.
Well, hopefully we'll flexibly schedule a follow-up that will be not in a month's time, and we can talk about it then. I do think that unfortunately we do need to wrap it up because of having to work tomorrow and all of that awful nonsense. Yeah, so we did cover a lot of ground, and again, apologies for those who are watching live. But hopefully you get to see or hear the end when we get this onto podcasting platforms and YouTube. So yeah, I don't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to touch upon before we break, but yeah, I guess speak now or forever hold your peace.
No, I'm just, it's good to catch up. Yeah, it's been a little while, and hopefully we'll get to the next one a little bit sooner. But yep, lot to cover tonight for sure.
Yeah, it's been a while, so it was good. We got to talk about all the goings on and whatnot.
The goings on and the ongoings.
Yeah.
Well,
next month's going to be a big ongoing month because the ongoing's getting their another premium 2-drop, and the past card is ongoing. So Spectrum enjoyers, it's never been a better time to
Arise.
be you, because
Yep.
the ongoing deck's already real good and it's getting some more support. So
The ongoing deck will be really good without Doom 2099.
yeah, big F's for Doom.
Big F's for Doom. Well, pour one out for our boy until they come back in 6 months to a year's time.
We'll be trying to keep it Cosmo till then. So if you made it to this point, thank you so much. We are really grateful to have you along our Marvel Snap journey. And yeah, we'll catch you at the next time. Take care.
Keep it Cosmo.
Keep it Cosmo.
Enough said, bub.